Hello everyone, who did here? This is my YouTube channel about Power Apps. I didn't record a video for a long time. Now I'm back, and we are going to talk about simple apps, doing lives, teaching how to create apps from scratch for everyone who is learning Power Apps now in 2022 and in the future. And today I brought my friend here, Leo. He also has a channel that's in the description, and he also is going to start producing content about Power Apps in English. So let me bring Leo to this call, and here he is. Hello,
Hey,
how are you doing?
hello, Rudy. I'm doing great. What about you?
I'm doing good too. Thanks for joining. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I've been working as a Power Platform developer, mainly with Canvas app, for about the last 3 or 4 years, and I even worked with Rudimar at some point. And now we're here producing content for those who are beginning on Power Apps, and I'm
Great.
very excited.
Yes, nice. Yes, me and Leo worked together, building Power Apps, working in governance in a company. That's where we met. And since then, we've been keeping contact and being friends. So the idea here is getting started from scratch. We have an account that we set up that we both have access. That's a developer account. If you look in my channel, you can find how to create this account. It's for free for you to test. So if you want to learn Power Apps and you don't know how, you can see that video and have an account to do. Uh, Leo, one question. So for those who are watching this and starting with Power Apps, how can I have Power App access? Is it for everyone? So if I go with my Gmail, I can publish and distribute for all the world, or how does it work?
Yeah, it's important to say that Power Apps and Power Platform are an enterprise solution. So you need to have a Microsoft account for accessing and using Power Apps, but not only a Microsoft account. You have to have specific account for using it. So, for instance, if you have an Office 365 account like E3 or E5, you already have access for the main features of Power Apps.
Yeah, so Power Apps is for a business, for a company to use. It's inside the environment for a company. So if you have already an Office account, as Leo said, then you have Power Apps possibly. We have the seeded license. That's the Power Apps on its basics that you can connect to SharePoint, Excel. You can have connectors to send emails, send notifications, and those things. And you have also the premium license if you want to build a bigger app that connects to a database, right, Leo?
Yeah. So with a premium connector, you can achieve more by using, for instance, a SQL database or the Dataverse database and many others connectors that can leverage your solution.
Yes, great. So uh, let's show this account that we are talking about, where you're going to create the app. So I'm going to share my screen here, and Leo is going to manage the call, control the presentation. So let's see. Screen sharing. Oops. Go ahead, Leo. Sorry.
Yeah, it was me.
I tried to add and you removed at the same time. So, okay, good.
Okay.
Here I have my Office account. So imagine you're in your company, and then you have an account with a lot of apps, so such as Words, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on. Those we already know. We're already using our daily activities. If I go to office.com, I can see my apps in there and see if Power Apps in there. So you can sign in with your account and make sure. Let me just go here because I already have, so I don't need to sign in again. So here I have my apps and I can see all the things I have. So if Power Apps is in here, you can use it. So Here's Power Apps. This account, as I mentioned, is a developer account. So you have a lot of things here, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI for you to play with the Office apps. We have a lot of things. It's pretty easy to set up. And one of the things, as we mentioned, is Power Apps. So here we are in Power Apps page. You can also go to make.powerapps.com. This is going to lead you to the Power Apps starting page. And here you can see the environment for creating the apps. So we can create apps in the browser. You don't need to install anything. It's all online. So here, if I go to apps, I can see my apps. There are some apps I already did, me and Leo, just for tests, for recording some videos. And if I go to home, I can see all the places I can connect my app and start. There are a lot of options. Here are just some of those, the more common ones, but you can create with several data sources. A lot of people use SharePoint because this is included in the basic licenses of the Office. So that's what we are going to use today. That is the SharePoint list for creating an app. Leo, if you have any comment, just interrupt me anytime.
Yeah, great. Maybe it's interesting to say also that what we're going to show today is a Canvas app, which is one of the types of apps that we have. So this is one strategy for building low-code app that will make you able to create a very custom interface. So we start with a blank page and we decide how we're going to build our app. But we also can use another type of app, which is the model-driven app. And the model-driven app allows you to quickly create an application without concerning so much about the UI. So is a strategy more focused on the data.
Good, good. Yes. Power Apps is not only Canvas app. Most people know because of Canvas app, but this model-driven, it's like a predefined structure where you don't need to worry about the visuals. So you configure the tables, the forms, how it will interact with the data, and it's pretty simple to set up in its basic version. But one thing to note is that this model-driven app only works with Dataverse. That's the database. I think we can call database, right, Leo? It's yeah.
Yeah, is database, and it's also much more than a database. We have layers of logic layers, business rules layers, and many others. So yeah, the main thing is the database, but we have much more features inside
Yes,
Dataverse.
let's say a data platform, because we can do more things than just storing
Mhm.
data. But this model-driven only connects with Dataverse. So we have the model-driven and the Canvas app. The Canvas is more like a drag and drop feel where you can customize a lot, as much as you want, as you can. If you understand HTML and design, you can do several things in there. And this model-driven, that's more fixed but quicker, and it interacts directly with the data. And we also have portals and custom Power Apps pages. That's recently, it's new. It's for building
Mhm.
websites for external people and internal people in the company to access it and also interact with the data in Dataverse. So 3 options, each one fits one need. In this case, we're going to build these Power Apps that can create very custom applications.
Cool.
Oh, nice. So here in the apps, we can already create an app from a data source, from an existing data source. If we have, let's say, a Excel spreadsheet or a SharePoint list, you can create an app connected directly to that list and have the Power Apps generating this app for us. We can show this
Mhm.
approach, and just for out of curiosity, but later we're going to create from scratch. But let's show this approach first, just to see how is the first setup, how is our first interaction with Power Apps if we don't know and we want to quickly see how capable this platform is. So I'm going to go to SharePoint, and I'm going to create a site. So people have sites with lists inside it. I'm going to create a site for us to do this demo. So I'm going to create a team site, and let's call demo live videos, or just live videos. Let me add Leo as also an user. I think it's in the next step.
Yeah.
Yes. Let me make you also an owner. So one thing to note here is if we are going to create an app and share with others, soon you're going to see how to share with other people, this person needs to have access to the underlying data sets. So if we share an app with someone and this person doesn't have access to the data set, this person won't be able to interact and see the data inside the app. So it's two things we do separately, share the data source and share the app. There are ways to share all at once. We won't cover today because it's more advanced. We are just getting started, but there are ways to share all at once. If you're curious about the ways, it's called, one of the options is Azure AD groups. Okay, here inside a SharePoint list, and I'm going to create a new list to store the data for the app. We can create, so new list, we can create a blank list and create all the fields, but let's get started with a template here. So we already have predefined lists where we have the structure already. So Leo, which one do you want to choose here?
I think we can go for asset manager. Looks like a good example to start with.
Good. Several companies manage assets. Doesn't matter the type of the company, so it's a really good idea. So let's skip this one. Here we can see how the list looks like. So we have a field for the device photo, the tag, status, manufacturer, model, type, color, and several others. Serial number, purchase date, purchase price. Yeah, that's all. A lot of things here. So let's use this template. Asset manager, and let's click create. Okay, so the list is blank. There is nothing there. Let's create just a new register. So when we create our app, it doesn't come empty. It's better to see what the app does. So I'm going to create a new item here. Let's get an image for the device. So I'm going to Pixabay. That's one of the sites I use to get free images. Searching here on Bing, my preferred browser searching. What about you, Leo?
Yeah. I would say Bing.
Yeah. Okay, for example, let's say we're going to say information about a laptop that our company has. So I'm going to pick this picture. Sounds good. Just download. Okay, here it is. So let's get this image.
And maybe it's important to highlight something, Rudy, is in our day-to-day, of course, we wouldn't be developing like this. We have much more advanced concepts of database modeling and best practice that we would follow. And but this is a basic example, so I think we can, cheat a little bit, right?
Yes.
So, but just for you guys to know, if you are beginning now, there is the right way of doing things, but we are not going to cover that today. Is a more about making an introduction of basic concepts.
Yes, get started with the Power Apps building. So, but of course, before starting an app, we are going to plan the data set, plan the app, talk with the end users, have the mockups. So we have a lot of planning before building the app. It's not just getting started out of nothing. This is just to cover the main concepts of how to build the app inside the Power Apps builder, let's say, the Power Apps place. So just for us to know how to build the app, but once you know how to use the interface, you better get started by getting planned before building anything. Yeah, we may do some videos about that if people comment, and if people want to know more, we can also for sure do also videos showing this. Yeah. So I just uploaded the photo. I created a tag, so PC001 status. Let's make it available. Manufacturer. Those are manufacturers. They are just made for the example, so they are already here. Let's get this. For example, Microsoft model. Let's say MD01 type. It's laptop. Color black. No, that one was gray actually. Silver then. Serial number. Let's just add a number here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Purchase dates. Let's get one date here. Beginning of August. Price $1,000. Number of the order 001. Who is the owner? So if someone is with this computer, since I made it available, let's leave it empty. Let's say it's in the stock. There are several other things. So condition, let's just fill a couple of them. Condition notes, let's say this is a brand new computer waiting for its owner. And then let's just save. Okay, we already have one information here. Let's just create the other. We can duplicate. So one way I like to do is go to the grid view, select everything here, and try dragging, but didn't work in this case. Let me try again. Yes, dragging here. It will duplicate the register. Then let's just change some numbers here. PC02. Model, let's say another model, another serial number, exit grid view, and let me just download a new picture so we have two different pictures. One thing that Power Apps announced a couple of weeks ago is the support for showing the picture columns inside Power Apps. Before it wasn't possible, right, Leo?
Yeah, this is something recent. And I think this is actually a good example of what we were saying before. So I think the best practice in terms of architecture on SharePoint is to store images and other kinds of documents on a library, right?
Yes, good, because right now we cannot change the image from the app, as far as I know. So we will be able only to visualize. Yeah, so if we were to plan this ahead, we would know that that's a limitation, and we wouldn't use the device photo column to store this image. We would use another way.
Yeah, I think it's important to say those things so people won't get this example and try to build exactly the same way and getting in trouble, right?
Yes.
And another thing I think you can comment is about the types of the column. I saw that, for example, status and manufacturer, we had predefined values for it. Why is that?
Yes, because this is a column of type choice. So it's a choice column, then we can predefine values. Why did you mention that, Leo? Do you have anything against this type of column?
No, it's just for those that have never seen a SharePoint list before, understand where this is coming from. So you can define predefined choices for the field, right?
Yeah, so here, for example, when I was creating a new one, I could choose several manufacturers here. I had 4 options, but I could add
Mhm,
more going to the column and going to column settings, edit, and I can create new choices here. So we can add
mhm.
predefined options to choose when creating new items. And this will reflect inside the app. So once we create the app, those options will already show in there.
Great.
Yeah. There are some limitations as we talked about the device photo, that's a image column. The choices, sometimes if you want to send data, the approach is a little different inside the app.
Mhm,
There is also the person field we didn't fill here, but the current owner, I guess it's a person field. So let me
mhm,
see. So some of them are more complex columns, and they
mhm,
may be a little more difficult inside the app. Today we are
mhm,
going to use a form to connect to the list, so it will bring to us the options already, but there are other options. Once you get more advanced, you need to do some extra customizations. You can use also other functions, and those type of columns that are complex may cause a little bit of difficulties if you're a beginner, even if you work a lot already. Sometimes they're
Right.
a little confusing.
So before we start this live on the backstage, me and Rudy were talking just about it, and we are saying that we prefer to use the data types as numbers and text uh, as frequent as possible because this can make many things more simpler, right, Rudy?
Yes, yeah, correct. If this was in Dataverse, that's another source for Power Apps. That would be
Hmm.
way easier to handle because it's already
Yeah.
thought to work on
Hmm.
Power Apps. But SharePoint already existed. Then they created Power Apps and made the connection. So some columns are not very well covered yet. As we see, they are improving. As an example of the image column that now shows at least inside the app. Maybe in the future
Hmm.
it's possible to edit, also edit. But right now, the easiest way is using strings and integers, numbers to
Hmm.
store data. Yes. There is also a lookup column when we have different lists. That one for me is the most difficult one to work inside the app.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, here we have a list. So imagine you already had this list to store information about the assets. Now you want to create an app so users don't need to come here to see the information and requests the device. Then we can do this in Power Apps and share with people. So let's first see how to connect to the list directly and have an app auto-generated. And then we are going to create something from scratch. So here in make.powerapps.com, we can choose SharePoint as a data source to build the app from scratch and already connected. Then we need to create a connection. If you don't have, just click on new connection. For me, I already have, so I won't do that. Here, I don't see my site because it's very recent, so I can paste the URL here. So if I go back to my site, the URL for the site is this one right before the lists. So until live videos, that's the name of the site. Let me copy, paste in here, and then go. So we have to choose one list, only one. So the app starts only connecting to one list. That's one reason I don't like too much to do this. I like to create from scratch and then connect to the lists I want. But let's get this list. And it will create the app in a mobile version. So Power Apps can have mobile and tablet version, and this creates in this format. So I prefer creating from scratch. Most of the apps I build are for computers using desktop, sometimes for mobile too, but I prefer creating as a tablet version and then do some modifications to it to adapt to mobile and not start from mobile form.
Right, me too.
You too, great. So here, as you can see, Power Apps created the app with 3 screens: one to visualize the lists, other for seeing the details, seeing more information about that item, and other for editing the item. So here it's the Power Apps ID to edit. It's inside the browser, as I mentioned in the beginning of the live. And then here we have several things we can show later, maybe when creating from scratch, but let's see how it works. So here I can press play and see the app working already in here inside the building tool. So we can edit and already test it here. So if I play, I can see those 2 items in there, showing here in this list of items. If I click here, I will go to the details page where I can see more details, the other columns for this assets. I can delete, it will remove from the SharePoint list, and I can edit. So if I click on edit, it will turn to a edit form where I can change some information. For example, let's say the model is not this one, it's 03. So just changed and saved. Now the model was updated, and I can see inside the list, if I refresh the page, the new name, the new model for this laptop. So here is 03. One thing just to show here, if you're not very used with SharePoint, is that we have also hidden columns here. For example, it will show who created and who edited, and also a unique ID for each register we create. It's very important to mention because sometimes people ask me, how do I store who modified, who created, or how do I create a single ID? So here we have already by default the ID column, they created by, modified by, also the created that stores the date when this item was created, and the modified that stores the date when this item was modified, and also other information here, such as attachments. We can also save attachments to a SharePoint list. For example, imagine we have the PO number, the receipt, and other things, other documents we want to attach regarding this asset. We could also attach in here. So let me just show those columns just out of curiosity, because we are not using since they are created by default. So see, each register we create, we have an ID, the time it was modified, who created, and so on. So we just saw that. Yeah, go ahead, Lex.
Nice comment that you said, really, because I think many beginners will probably try to create those types of column if they don't know that it already exists, right? So it's like duplicating data, which is not good.
Yes, it will give extra effort to build the app, build things that already is done by default. So better knowing about this. Great. Okay, so as we just saw, the app just changed the item here in the SharePoint list. So imagine the user had access to the app. He didn't need to go to the SharePoint list to do any modification. Okay, so we added. Let's go and go back. Let's see in this previous page, we also can search. So PC002, for example. Imagine we have a lot of items here. We can search. It comes by default. We can change the order of display. We can refresh in case we go to the SharePoint and change something in there or add new items. And you can also create a new item. So here, when I create a new item, we see those options, and we see that the device photo, there is no way to add a photo right now. So we can just create title and other things, and this will create a new item in the list. So let's try create a new one. So smartphone X status in use, manufacturer Contoso, model X, type smartphone, color black, serial number 12345 7. And let's save. So it will save in the SharePoint list and it will show in here, but it doesn't show the image because we couldn't add here. So let's go to SharePoint and see the item in there and also save the new image. So let me just get an image to put in it. Smart. I said it was black, so this one that doesn't have a brand here. Just adding the picture for us to see in the app. There we go. It's already here, so it already shows us the refresh. Let's see how it works. So once I click here, it will refresh, bring the data again, and we can see the new image we just added. So creating this app in this way, connecting directly to the list, is a good way for us to see how it works. If it's the first time building an app, it's good to explore things. So here we can see, for example, over, we can see how to search items, how it works for seeing the details, editing. It's a good first approach to see how the basics work. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's show how to go ahead, Leo. We're going to say something.
Yeah, I think if you are a beginner, this is a nice way of starting out with Power Apps because you are going to see how an app would look like and what are the main functions happening in an application. But for 90% of the time, you won't use this approach because, of course, uh, business cases are much more complex than this example right here. So you would have to adapt a lot of things. So it's much better to start from a blank screen, following all of the requirements of your project, right?
Yeah, yes, would be better having the app first planned, know what you need to do. This, for example, we would have to change how to store the picture. There are missing fields here. Those more complex fields didn't show. So we would have to adapt a lot what we are doing. Something like this, yes. Let's see how to share the app, how it works. So here I just built the app and I want to share with another user. So I'm going to go here to File, Save. I didn't save yet. That's my first time saving the app. So it shows this screen this way. And the next time it won't show these things here. So let's say Assets, App, Mobile. I'm going to save. Once I save for the first time, it keeps auto-saving my work. It's configurable, but I think by default is every 2 minutes. So once you just create the app, it's better save because sometimes we forget, especially in the beginning. We work hours and then we forget to save, and out of a sudden the computer stops working. Then we lose things. So better saving at first. Have you ever lost something, Leo?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. See, now it's safe.
It's a painful lesson.
Yes.
Painful lesson.
Yeah. Maybe everyone needs to have this once to learn. So, okay. I'm going to share now. So once I click share, it will go to the other page where I can share with other people. Here, I can find people inside my organization. So that's why Power Apps is for people inside your company. You can, of course, share with people from outside, but first they need to be added as guests inside your tenant. It's a little more complex than for this first time we are seeing the app, so let's not focus on that. But know that's also possible, but sometimes IT doesn't like that, so better talk with IT first and see what are the directions. In this case, I'm going to search, so I have here Leo, and I can make him a co-owner, so he can also edit the app as I just did. So he can go to make.powerapps.com and edit and perform changes. Or if I don't check this, he's only the user, so he can only play the app and cannot do any changes. You are going to do this with most of people in your organization because you're going to be the developer. Maybe you have a partner, a colleague who is also the developer, but most of the times people are only users, so you don't mark this box. In this case, I'm marking just in case Leo wants to open there to show, and I'm going to share. So he's going to receive an email being invited to use the app, and he can already have access. So I'm going to let Leo show his screen to show how he, as an user, will see the app.
Okay, just a second. Let me.
Okay. I also close my app here because let's imagine Leo wants to edit. He cannot edit while I have it open. So I need to close this tab and sometimes wait a little for the back end to sync and know that I already closed.
Right. You see my screen already?
Okay, let's see. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so the app you just shared with me is showing up right here. I can see.
Wait. I'm seeing the not the wrong screen then.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Just a second then. There's screen. All right. How about now?
Let me see. Oh, maybe I was seeing yours and I was sharing mine. Okay.
Oh.
Never mind. Okay, I
All
see.
right. All right. Yeah. So I'm on my account right now, and I can see the app that Rudy just created. So Assets App Mobile is here. I can see that he's the owner. And if I want to, I can also edit now. I can play the app too, and I'm going to edit first. So Rudy, what if we would like to edit at the same time? This message is of course saying that we can't, right?
Yeah, yeah. There is one way. There is one way to integrate the app with GitHub to have the control of versions through GitHub. Then people can open at the same time. I've tried. It's new. This thing is new. I didn't like much. For me, I thought the app is a little bit slower in these moments. Then I prefer doing like this. But so if you connect it to GitHub, both people can open at the same time. Of course, they cannot work in the very same thing, very same page as Word, for example, Word Online. But I think they are improving maybe in the future. So I prefer this way.
Yeah. This feature is a preview, if I'm not mistaken, and soon it's going to be GA that they call, right? And
general availability, yeah.
General availability, yeah. Okay, so I can open the app if Rudy is with the app open. So luckily, if I try again right now, I will be able to open. And sometimes it happens that we have a delay, so we need to wait a little bit for editing. But I think we make the point here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Just play the app to show how a user would see them.
Yeah, and if I click on the app, I'm going to exit. execute it, and is going to ask my permission for accessing my SharePoint connection, and is going to retrieve all the data that we have on the list. And I can do things like editing, deleting, and creating new records, which for many scenarios, this won't be good in terms of security. So for instance, let's say I'm a basic user here and Rudy is the manager of the app. So he doesn't want me to delete anything, right? So how we can solve that, Rudy? What would you suggest?
Okay,
Or
so
avoiding unwanted actions made by the users?
right, but would some users be able to delete and others don't, or you want all the users to not be able to delete?
Yeah, so for instance, maybe I, as a user, can only create new items and read my own items, and I should not be able to see information from other users.
Well, I would go to the SharePoint configurations because I know that there is
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
configuration to allowing users to see only their data and editing
Mm-hmm.
only their data. So by default, you can see everyone's data and edit everyone's, but
Mm-hmm.
you can narrow down this configuration to allow only users see their data. No, edit there
Mm-hmm.
and see all. I think. Am I correct?
Yeah, yeah. So I think this important point to bring here because is another common mistake that beginners make of not concerning about the security, right? So even if the information is not being shown on the app itself, if I am smart enough, I can work around and retrieve the information for, I don't know, maybe Power BI or Excel spreadsheet, or even using a bit more advanced things such as an API to retrieve the data and, I don't know, make things that I am not supposed to do, right? So as you said, we can configure this at SharePoint. Of course, there's limitations, but we can increase a little bit the level of security. And we have things like permissions and other resources that we can use to assure it.
Yes. So, but if you're working with very, let's say, with data
Sense,
that can
sensitive.
sensitive data, yeah, that's the word.
Mm-hmm.
It's better. I think it's better not choosing SharePoint. I like to go with Dataverse because it has several things to manage security, where people can see only their data, edit their data, or see the organization data. So it's a really granular database with management for security. I like that one a lot when it's sensitive data.
Yeah, so it's important to assess the requirements of your project before doing anything. Otherwise, you are going to taking the risk of exposing sensitive data and causing trouble on your organization, right? And we don't want it.
Yes, yes. Any data leak with sensitive data can cause a lot of damage. So it's
Hmm.
worth worrying about that before building anything that has this kind of data.
Cool.
Great. So now I think we can create an app from blank.
Hmm.
What do you think, Leo? Or you want to do anything else? It's up to you now.
Yeah, no, I think we can get to the fun now, which is getting our hands on the app and show how to create things ourselves instead of generating apps.
Okay, sounds good. Let me share my screen. Uh, screen, 1 second. Yes. Okay, just added to the screen. Let's see. So now we are going to create an app, a blank app, and connect from scratch. Then we can comment the basics of Power Apps and teach step by step. Let's go with here in the make.powerapps.com. So you can already start this video from here if you don't want to see how to connect directly. I think that's what most people want. So just start building. This would be a good point. So let's go here, home. You can create blank app. So as we mentioned in the beginning, we have blank canvas app. That's this one that we have the drag and drop. The based on Dataverse, that's the model driven, and the website, that's the Power Pages now. So we can click
Mhm.
here on create, or we can also go to the apps, go to new app and choose a canvas, or we can go to create. It's the same thing as the home, so blank app. So I'm going to create. We have two formats here, tablet and phone. So those are the two options. If you want to use on computers, I use tablet. If it's intended only for phone, then you can use phone. But I like to go with tablet and then do modifications if necessary, or even make it adapt to both screens. That's a little bit more advanced, but it's also possible to make it responsive, let's say. So let's call it inventory. No, not inventory. Asset request, for example. Then it will just create a blank Canva. The Canva is this thing in the middle. That's why it's called Canvas app. So this is the Canva.
Mm.
Right. So here's the interface to create the app. We can create new screens. We already have screens, some models to use. We can insert a lot of things here, such as buttons, labels, text, inputs, and other things. So in the insert, we have the components we want to add. There's this view tab to see the data sources we are connected, the media we imported, collections, variables, and other things we are going to learn, actions, and also the settings here. So a lot of things to cover, but let's start from the easy thing. So here in the screen one, so it's the empty screen where I can drag elements to this screen. So first thing is this, is learn what elements we can add, what do we have. So if we go to the insert pane, we see, for example, a button here. So once I click, it will bring the button to the screen, to the Canva, and I can drag and place whenever I want, change size, change several configurations here in the right pane. So the button here, for example, we have the text. We can change, for example, to click me, and it will change the text in the button. We also have this drop down here where you can access also all the configurations, all the parameters. We can also find the text in here, for example. So text is the same click me, so I can change things here too. And also other things such as resizing, dragging, dropping, double clicking to change the text too. So there are several different ways to do. So the idea is to select elements and bring to the Canva. That's the first thing. Uh, how would you get started, Leo? What would you teach first for someone who is just learning Power Apps? An idea? What show next?
Yeah, I think the main thing is to know the interface and where are things. So you just show this that,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the next step is understanding how to connect the data, and
Okay.
after that, understand how to interact with the data.
Right. So we can add as many inputs and things as we want here, such as text and so on. But as Leo mentioned, we need to also add data. We are building an app to interact with data. So it doesn't make much sense have an app that does nothing. So here in the left, we can see this data pane here where you can add data. So we have also the others we can cover, but let's go to this data. So we are going to connect to a data. In this case, is the same SharePoint list as we demonstrated before. So here, in order to do that, I'm going to click on this pane, data, then add data. Here I have several data sources. It shows the tables here from the Dataverse in my environment. That's another source of data. It's the database for the platform. But we have several connectors here. We can connect to Office, to SharePoint. There are several. There are more than 500, I guess, right now.
Yeah.
We can
What is
connect
that diamond, Rudy?
Okay, the diamond means it's a premium connector. So we see we have those without the diamond. That means they're just custom, just normal connectors and the diamond. If it has the diamond, it means you need a Power Apps per user plan or a per app plan or a pay as go plan. So any paid plan that gives access to the premium connectors and premium features of the Power Apps. In this case, we are connecting to SharePoint, so it's not premium. If we search here, I cannot talk and search at the same time. SharePoint. We see that it doesn't have the diamond, so it's not premium. Then I can connect. But there is one thing here that we see that the Dataverse tables doesn't have the premium, but it's premium. So if the app has a Dataverse connector, it will request a license. Should have the premium icon here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to click on SharePoint, and I already have a connection, but you can create a new one. Clicking here, it's a simple step, but I already have, so let's click here. Then we need to connect to the site. As we see, our site doesn't show here because it's very recent, so it didn't load here yet, but we can copy the URL for the site. So it goes up to the name of the site. So this is the URL for the site, or if you click on home, then we are going to have only the URL you need. Let's copy, paste in here, and connect. Now we are going to connect to the same list as we connected to in the previous app, so Asset Manager, and click. So we already see it in here. We are not using, it doesn't show anywhere because we need to configure the app to show this information, also to connect to the lists and create, edit, and so on. And okay, we already have the data connected. Let's just quickly see this information. Let's just show how to show it inside the app. So one way to do this is using a gallery. So here in the insert gallery, we have several forms of gallery. So gallery is, let's say, if you go to a museum, you have a gallery of arts, you see all the pictures in there. So it's the same thing, it's a gallery. You're going to show all the items in here. So I'm going to select this vertical, it's the model I use the most. It will give some sample data with some text here that doesn't mean anything. But if we click in the gallery, it will show the data source for us to connect. Since we have the asset manager connected in the app, we can click here and show. Or if this pop-up doesn't show, we can go to the right pane here and see in the data source and select here also the list, the asset manager. So I'm clicking here, it just brought the data to the gallery and we are already seeing this information. So the gallery is one of the main things of the Power Apps, one of the building blocks. All of the apps use gallery, almost all of them, I'd say almost 100%. And the gallery is intended to show items. So once we connected the data source, we see it here. Each line of the gallery, it's an item. So if we change anything here in the first item, this is where we edit the gallery view, how it shows. It will reflect in the other items. So we only need to change once, and it will reflect to the items that are in the other part of the gallery. We cannot even change here. You can only change here in the top. If we select the gallery, click here in the edit icon, or just click somewhere, we can do changes such as positioning, changing sizes, changing colors, and so on.
Right.
Any
I think
comments, Leo?
that's yeah. I think that's the reason why this part of the gallery is called template, because you do for the first model, and everything is going to follow the template that we're making the changes. And I think a nice way of summing up the idea of a gallery is to say that it's similar to a table, but it's much more flexible. So we're using this control very often to show tabular data, and instead of using a table, because it's much more flexible and we can organize the information the way we want.
Good point. Yes, we even have the data table in here. We can also add and show data. So let me show. But I don't like this one. So I added data table, clicked on asset manager. It will bring some columns here and show the information. See, it's good to see the information. It's quick. It even has this the scroll bar here. But some
Mhm.
things we cannot do, such as showing pictures, adding action buttons inside. For example, we could click here and go to other page, go to the edits or to the view pane. But
Mhm.
here there's no way to do because it's more fixed the way we show things here. So sometimes I like to do a gallery and make it look like a table.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Which, yeah. So for example, here we could have the gallery just drag here, change the size, and position things like in the table. For example, the image, we can
Mhm.
put the name, the status, and put side by side and make it look like a table. So right now we have only let me see, the title and the status and the image, but we could add more fields here. That's already one thing we can teach, because people will need to edit the gallery most of the times. It's just not connecting. For example, here we want to
Mhm.
see serial number and other information, such as, for example, condition notes. And here we only have the image, the title, the status. Is it possible to show more information here, Leo, or just this?
Yeah, of course. You can show as many information as you want, um, and you can do other kind of things like uh, maybe creating conditions and using icons. You can use whatever object you want inside a gallery. There's few objects that you can use, but most of them you can use on the gallery.
Yeah, it's great. And in the table, I cannot do nothing. I can do nothing like that Leo just said. So let's
Mhm.
go with the gallery and delete this table. Okay, just delete it. As we just saw, I just changed the size of the gallery, moved the text around to make it look like a table a little bit. Let's say we want to see the condition notes here. So I'm going to select the gallery, select anything inside it, just to make sure I'm inside this first part of the gallery, that's the template, and go to insert and label. So once I insert the label, it will already bring some information. It does this by default. So for example, now it's just brought the manufacturer dot value. Oops. Since this manufacturer is a choice column, we need to access the value by the dot value. This is how we access choice columns from SharePoint. Uh, Here there's one thing that we need to notice, that's this item. So each line here is an item, and if we want to access the information, we need to call the this item, because it will know that we are talking about the item for this line of the gallery. So it's called
Mhm.
this item. For it doesn't matter the data source you connect, you always need to call this item dot then the information you want. So in this case, it showed the manufacturer. We can keep in here and keep adding labels. It will bring other information here too. In this case, now it's this item.model. So oops, I just added a button. Let me delete. See, now I just had the gallery selected, and then I clicked on label. It just brought this label, but outside the gallery. That is what I was mentioning before. And we need to have attention to click inside any element of the gallery and then insert. Now it's just brought the asset type, but I won't keep adding more and more and waiting for the notes to come. So I will just change the text of this label. So this is one property of the label that shows text, and we can change the text it shows. So instead of this item.assets type, I'm going to go to this item, delete everything else, add the dot again. Power Apps shows me the options here inside, so I like to do this instead of typing and getting it wrong. So I see here condition notes. Since it's a text column, it shows already the text in here, and I can see the information that it's replicating to the other items inside the gallery. So we add it in the first item and it shows in the others. This one doesn't have a condition note, so it doesn't show anything, but the label is here empty. Right. Any comment, Leo?
Just I think no, I think this is the beginning. So when we say I don't know if in English is the same term, but we say crude in Portuguese for creating, reading, deleting, updating. So this is the reading thing that we just learn how to read the data, and I think is one of the first steps to understand in order to build anything on the app and start to interact with the data.
Yes, I always like to visualize the data first to see what the data is in there. So going manually adding some things, some data to the data source as we just did, and then I like showing the app before start creating or editing. So I already know that the connection is correct and the data is showing. Yes, in this case, this is the process I like to follow after planning the app, as we mentioned before.
Nice.
Okay. Yes, great. So for the gallery, that's one of the main building blocks of the apps. We still have a lot of things that we can see. For example, we can have the selected item of the gallery. So if we click in any of those, we are selecting that item. So, and then we can use this information to do other things in the app. Let's imagine we want, for example, to select this computer and then request something regarding this computer. So we have the selected information for the gallery. Let's see how to get the item I just clicked. We are not going to use right now because we have other things to cover, but soon we are going to revisit this. But let's see how to know which item is selected. So going to the edit mode, I was in the play mode, just exited. I'm going to add a label here to show which item I just clicked. So, oops, I'm going to insert label. Now I want to insert out of the gallery. So just here in the app, it shows this text by default in the text parameter. And then I want to show which item I selected in the gallery. If I click in the gallery, I see that the name is gallery 1. What do you think about this name, Leo? We can see here in the tree view all the elements we insert. All of them have label 6, label 5, image 1, button 1. What do you think?
I think that at some point you are going to get lost because there are going to be so many objects there. And so a good practice is to get good names for your objects. And actually, there are naming conventions for using on the objects. I like to follow the naming convention that is proposed by Microsoft.
Okay, really good. I also like I don't like looking at the app and seeing this. It's very confusing, very difficult to find things. So, for example, if I want to see the status label, if I want to find here, it's impossible. I need to go here and click. Sometimes there are other things in the top of this label, so I cannot easily select. So it's a good practice to always rename things right after you create it. So in this case, let's do this exercise before we continue so we don't get lost later. For the screen, for example, let me rename to assets lists, since this is the page that shows already the items. So let's call asset lists. For example, the gallery, let's change to Go. That's the convention Leo was mentioning. They have some prefix for each items we are going to create. So in this case, we call it Go because it's a gallery. Then if we look in the tree, we already know that it's a gallery by the name. Of course, we have the icons, but we also see by the name, it helps a lot. So Go assets list. Let's go renaming things after once when we click on them and we see that it doesn't have a correct name. Let's rename. Let's not do all right now, but that's the idea. So since I just created this label and it's label 6, let's change to LBL, that comes from label and selected item. And now let's change here the text and show the information, the name of the item I just clicked in the gallery. So instead of text, let's say we want to show the Go assets list. See how easy it is right now, because it was gallery 1 before. Imagine we had 10 galleries. We wouldn't know the name for the correct one. We would go there, click, see the name, and lose time and more time as we progress building the app. Now we know that it's Go assets list. It's way easier. So we can get the dot selected and then dots. Then we have all the fields that come from the SharePoint lists to show here in this label. In this case is the title. So here it shows PC001. Let's hit play. If I click on PC002, the gallery.selected is this item now. So gallery.selected.title, that's this text. If I click here on smartphone, then this item will be the selected, and then we are going to show the gallery.selected.title, that's the smartphone X text. Is there anything, Leo, you like to do when clicking in a gallery? So, for example, now I click and I cannot visually know which item is selected if I don't look at this label, but I wanted to have some animation when I hover the mouse or when I select have a different color. Is that possible to identify if an item is selected and change some color just to show the user which one is?
Yes, actually, this is very important because we need to get some visual indicator showing the user which item on the gallery is selected. A gallery will always have an item selected, so it's important in many cases to show the user which of the items are selected, because later on the user will probably interact with the data, and it's important to show what is the data that is being used at the moment. So yeah, responding your question, we have that possibility.
Okay, how do we do that? How can I do that?
All right. So if you go for a property called fill on the gallery, template fill actually. So remember that we have one part of the gallery called template, right? And the template is not the whole object. It's just these little sections that we have that shows each of the records. So if you select template fill, we can see the formula. yeah, we can see that there is this RGBA color that this is stands for the transparent color. But
Mm-hmm.
can you change for something like gray or whatever color just to see the result?
Can type
Right.
gray
So
because there are predefined colors. So since I typed gray, it's got
yeah, so when you do that, we can see that only the templates are gray now. But
Mm-hmm.
if you look for the whole selection of the gallery, we don't see any color, right? So now what we want to do is to create a if statement, so a condition to check if the item is selected. And if the item is selected, let's give a different color for it.
Okay. So uh, as Leo just mentioned, we can know if the item is selected inside the formula. So the if statement is a formula inside Power Apps. It's the first formula we are using. We are actually starting with maybe a difficult one if whoever is
Mhm.
watching doesn't know programming, but it's not difficult. Let's go ahead. We can do that. So the if
It's just like Excel.
Yes. It's like talking with the app, in my opinion. When I teach in
Mhm.
Portuguese, it's more difficult, but since now we are talking in English and the expressions are in English, when we
Mhm.
want the app to do something, we just need to talk with the app. So, in case we are going to say to the app, if the item is selected, just show a light blue color in the end. If not, show a white color. So we just
Mhm.
need to translate this to the app code. And it happens that the code's really like the same or us talking to the app. So we use the if, we use the equals. So
Mhm.
yeah, let's do. So for example, if the item is selected, so how do we know if the item is selected? Is this item dot is selected. So if the item is selected, this will return a true or a false. Then I just add a comma. And what will I return to the template field parameters if the item is selected? I will return, for example, a light, light blue. That's one color that Power App has already predefined. So if true, it will return light blue. If not, if it's false after the comma, it will return, for example, white or transparent. There is also an option
Mhm.
to return a transparent. So I just talk to the app. If the item is selected, return light blue. If it's not selected, return white. So let's play, and we see that already the PC002 that's selected because we see here too in the bottom it's light blue in the end. The others are not. If I click on the smartphone, this item will be selected, and this one will have the is selected property set to true, and the color will be light blue, while the PC002 will lose this property because it won't be selected anymore, and it will be white. So let's
Mhm.
click. Just select it. So now this one has the light blue. So way easier now for the user to identify which item is selected, and we don't even need this label. We just need if you want to access this data, this information to do something else. Good.
Nice. Nice.
Oof, that's a big explanation, but in the very end is simple. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
useful,
but
very useful.
that's a very important one.
Yes, very important one. Okay, there is also other configurations for the gallery that I can, for example, when I hover the mouse over the gallery, it can do an animation to just to make the app more with more interaction. Let's see how it works. So if I click on the gallery, I have here the transition, so I can select pop or push. And then when I hover, for example, now I'm selecting push. When I hover the mouse, it will do this pushing animation
Mhm.
here. It starts to look nice. And then I click and select. Good.
Yeah. And I think this also a good hint for the user to understand that this is interactive, right? So everything that we do here has a purpose, and I think when we do things like this, is to get a message for the user. So you can click here or interact with this.
Yes, that's true. Because if it didn't have this animation, it can be something very static. Maybe the
Mhm.
user don't need to click, but now it's clear that it's clickable. So
Yeah.
it also works for other elements. For example, the button here, you see that it changes the color a little bit. We can also
Mhm.
do this for the label, for several elements here. In the gallery, we don't have much options regarding color when we hover things, but we can also add inside the gallery an element that will change the color when we hover. But for the button, for example, if we click in the button, we have several properties here. So for example, the color when we press, the color when we click, no, sorry, press and click is the same. The color when we hover, so the border color, the text color, we can change. So it
Mhm.
has this several configurations for several parameters, several items here. So to show the user that they can interact with the app.
Yeah, I think this is happening with the icon that you have there on the end of the gallery. Yeah. Uh, yeah, we can
Yeah,
see that because
it,
I think it's true.
it changes slightly, but let
Yeah.
we can change. So for example, if I select the icon that's inside the gallery, we have the hover color here. So
Mhm.
right now it changes to the same color. It just fades a little bit, but we could change, for example, to let me just comment. So that's something. If you add double slashes, it's a comment. So this code doesn't work anymore. It's just in there for reference, maybe, or for you to add some comment. And let's add, for example, red. So the hover color now is red. So once I hover this icon, it will change to red. So see, this is a way
Nice.
to show the user how that it can be clickable and they can interact. Good. Okay, so this is the gallery, one of the most important things inside the app. It's still possible to do way more things, make it look way nicer. We
Hmm.
may do sometimes a video improving galleries, improving the visuals. Leo is really good with designing. So
And
if
thanks.
yeah, so if anyone is watching this video, can leave in the comments requesting some videos or giving some ideas to us. Great. Leo, just one comment. We have one person watching. We didn't expect because the channels are small. At some point, we
Yeah.
had two people. Or is that you in your smartphone?
No, no, actually, it's not me. I was wondering if it was you.
No, it's not me too.
All right.
So leave a hi in the comments. Whoever is in there, you're very special. It's the beginning of the lives for the channel.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, what should we do now? Well, do you have an idea of the next step, next thing to explain?
Yeah, I think we can show how we can search items on the gallery using input text control. What do you think?
Okay, sounds very good. So we keep in the galleries. Yes, there are way more things to do. The app that it auto-generated, it had a search functionality, so it's fair for
Mhm.
us to show it too. Okay, so let's insert a input text for us to search in the gallery because we need to type somewhere. So I'm going to just bring the gallery a little bit down and go to insert text, and then we have text input. So in this text input, it will bring this text input here, and we can type inside it. If I hit play, we see that it's in here. it comes already with this default text, which I don't like. We will remove soon, but I can delete and type whatever I want. For example, PC001. But it didn't search yet, didn't do anything because we didn't connect, we didn't do a formula to do the search. So we need, in a certain way, to get this information, this text, and perform a search in the items inside the gallery.
Right.
Okay, so in order to do that, we don't play with these parameters for the text input, but for the gallery. In the gallery, we have the data source. If we select the gallery and click here, the data source, we see that's connected to the asset manager. So the items here is the asset manager. So it means it's bringing all the items from the asset manager list, and we need to filter, we need to search. So we have a function that's called actually search. As I was saying before, it's like us talking with the app. So I want to talk to the app. Search in the asset manager items.
Really?
Where then? Go ahead.
So, yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Will you excuse me for just a moment? I'll be back in 1 minute or two.
Okay, I will keep explaining then.
Okay, go on.
No problems. So we are going to search here. We are going to tell the app, I want to search in the gallery, the items in the gallery, where the title has the text I type inside this text input. So let's do that. But first, let's rename this, as we just mentioned. It's very important to have clear names. So in this case, let's call it txt search asset. So this will be the name of the input. So now let's talk to the gallery that we want to search. So here we have the asset manager that will bring everything, but let's change to search. So I want to search what I want to search, where I want to search. So let's open a parenthesis and type the source. So once we open the parenthesis, it will show here what's the next parameter for this function. In this case, is the source. That's the list I was just using. I'm going to select here asset manager. And now what text I want to search. From where the text comes. It comes from the text input we just created and called txt search assets. So let me add a comma to go to the text parameter, get the text from that input. So it's txt search asset dot text. In this way, we are going to get the text that the user types inside it. And now, what's the column I want to use to search this text? In this case, is the title column. So I'm going to select title. I start typing. It will show the options in here, and I select here title. And I can close the parentheses. Now, anything I type inside the txt search asset will be searched in the asset manager in the title column, and it will return here. So let's hit play and see how it works. Right now it has this text input. I just mentioned that I don't like it because it always comes with this and I have to delete. Let's remove this. Let's make it not default. So here, once I click, I have the default property and I can just delete and leave an empty text. So now it's searching by an empty text and it's bringing everything. But now if I hit play and I start typing, for example, P, it still shows everything because all of them have the P letter in the title. But once I type C from PC, it shows only the personal computers, the PC001 and 002. So it's narrowing down the items. And I can keep going until I find the item I want. So PC001, now it's searching and bringing me only this item here. If I want to search another item, I just can delete and search again. And if I don't want to select everything and delete, I can enable a clear button in here, so it will make easier, especially if the user is using a tablet or a smartphone that he doesn't have the backspace to delete it. So let me exit the play mode, click here in the text input. Just 1 second, Leo. Wait. I'm back. Someone just entered here, so. Uh, So I was mentioning that if we are using a smartphone or a tablet, then we can enable this clear button. It makes way easier. So if I hit play and I have some texts and the box selected here, the text inputs, the clear button just appears, and if I click, everything will be deleted. And I can search another thing, smartphone, for example, it show only the smartphone. Any comments?
Nice. I saw it in that formula that we have a blue underline on that. What is that?
Okay, let me see.
On the formula bar.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay,
the delegation warning. What is that?
Okay. The delegation warning, it's saying that this formula may not work correctly on large data sets. Why is that? So the Power Apps has a limit of information that it can show inside the app. In this case, if we go to settings, we see in the general that we have it set as 500, and we can set to at most 2000. That's the maximum. It means that if the action is not delegable, I think that's the way to say, it will bring 500 items to inside the app and then perform the search. But if the column or the data source has this, can be delegable, then it will ask the data source to search and retrieve the data. In this case, it's saying it's not. So it means every time I search, it will bring all the items from the list to the app and then perform the search locally. If I have more than 500 items, it may not work because Power Apps can bring only 500 items. That's what it means. So it's something to consider when using the search function, because if you have more items than Power Apps can handle, it may not show all the results you want. Am I correct?
Yeah, perfect. That's a good point, and that is something to consider when you're building your app and your formulas. So you need to pay attention. If you have a large data set, the data retrieved may not be what the user is expecting. So pay attention on delegation warnings.
Yes, there are some columns that work without delegation that work well, and you can search, and the data set can have thousands of records, millions of records. It's good to check the documentation because it explains very well. So SharePoint has delegation issues with several type of columns. The ones that work fine are numbers and strings, but not for the search function. We would need to use another function to search and not have delegation. And also we have other data sources such as Dataverse that has less issues with delegations than SharePoint. So it's a thing to consider before building the app, how you're going to, which data set you're going to use, how you're going to search things, and know all the formulas and these limitations.
Right. So delegation will depend on the data source, on the type of column, and also on the formula. So
Yes,
I think
correct.
these are the three main things to consider.
Yes, and even if your data source has, in this case, less than 500 rows or 2,000 rows, if you set the delegation limits to 2,000, if you use something that's non-delegable, the app will bring all the data to the app and have less performance because it will need to bring all the data. It will use more connectivity, more traffic of data. So it's good
Mhm.
to program without delegation. In this
Yeah.
case, the search has delegation. So another way would be using a filter with the start with function. Uh, it's a little more limited than search because search looks in all the words anywhere in the text. They start with only gets what starts with the text, but then it's not it's delegable, and then you could apply to thousands of registers. In this case, if it's a small company with only a few assets, this would work fine. But if it grows more, then would need to worry about this. I think in this case we can go because we are given the basics. But since we mentioned, it's good that people now will know when they see this and they need to study a bit more.
Yeah, and you said one important thing also, that even if you don't have a really large data set, you have to consider the performance as well, because if you're using a non-delegable formula or function, uh, all the query is going to be on the Power Apps side, so you might lose performance, and you have to consider maybe the device is not so powerful, and the connection also might be not so good, and you might get in trouble in these cases.
Yes, yeah. So it's a good point to consider. We can also make sometime a video, a live, solving some filters that have delegation, fixing and making working on performance. That would be a nice thing. So if anyone wants to watch this, also leave in the comments. We'll be happy to have suggestions.
Nice.
Great. So now we have the search as we had in the other app. We can see the items. What now, Leo?
Uh, Well, I think the next step, now that we just read the data, is maybe try to interact with the data. And I think before we move to editing the data, which is a little bit more complex, maybe we can show how to delete the data. What do you think?
Yes, yes. It's a first interaction with the data. Let's go
Mhm.
slower. So I'm going to add an icon inside here and delete icon. So it's going to delete the data from the data source. Okay, so with something clicked here inside the gallery, I'm going to go to icons and then find the trash icon in here. If you don't find, you can add any icon. For example, I'm going to do this. I'm going to click on cancel, add the icon and position it. And then here in the right, we can type to search, so it's easier to find because there are several icons. It's easier here. So just type trash and we can see the icon here, just select. Now there are two approaches we could do. One is delete right away after the user clicks. Uh, it may be a little danger. What if the user is curious or he doesn't know what he's doing or clicking? It will delete,
Mhm.
so there is no way to recover, at least inside the app. In SharePoint there is, but we are supposing the user is going to do everything in the app. And the other option is to create a confirmation pop-up. So there are these two approaches. We can delete first directly and then create this pop-up. That's another thing we can teach because then a pop-up is very useful in a lot of apps. But let's delete first and then do the pop-up. So with the icon selected, I'm going to go to the onSelect property. So this is the first time we are seeing this function. Uh, a lot of the items have also this function and is what the app is going to do when we click in that element. In this case, it's calling select parents. That means it will select the gallery. It select the gallery item. Right, Leo? I think this one. It's like clicking in the gallery or
Yeah,
clicking
yeah,
in the item.
yeah. I have to to say I'm sorry because someone here was asking for my attention, and I had
Oh,
to get this
let's
guy.
go. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah.
So cute.
He was at my feet all the time.
Yes, he wants to help too. So
Yeah.
let him help.
Yeah.
Great.
Sorry, what was the question again, really?
Oh, the question was, what does this select parent do? Because all the items we insert inside
Yeah.
the gallery calls this function.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have this parent concept on Power Apps. So if we look for the panel on the left, right, where we can see this tree structure, we see that some objects are underneath other objects. So for instance, inside of the gallery, we have icon and we have labels and so on and so forth. So we can reference the parent object like we are seeing on the gallery. And when we do that, we trigger the action of the parent instead of the object itself. And this is very useful because instead of repeating the same formula for all of the objects, I can use the formula for the parent control and make all of the objects that are child trigger this same formula.
Right. So, for example, if all of them have the select parent, it's the
Mm-hmm.
same as if I go to the gallery and put some action in the on select because they are children of the gallery. So once I click and they call select parent, it's like the user just clicked in the gallery.
Yeah.
But in this case, we want only to do a single action in this button. So only when the user clicks on this button is when I want to delete the item. So I'm going to replace this by a function called delete because I want to talk to that. I want to delete. So I want to delete from where? Let me see. Delete. It doesn't show the options here, but I guess it's not delete. Sorry, it's remove. Remove.
Yeah, I was stunned because I thought, how come I never seen this formula before?
Yeah. It's remove. I want to
Okay.
remove from where? So from what's the data source I want to remove? From the asset manager. And what's the item I want to remove? So let's remember this button, this icon is inside an item. It's inside a gallery item. So I want to remove this item. So this will tell the SharePoint backend to remove this line from the list. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so now let's remove the smartphone X. If I click play and click here, it will call the remove from the SharePoint list. So calling remove, it's loading and just disappeared because it's not in the list anymore. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I was mentioning if the user just clicks here, there's no way back unless we go to SharePoint and restore. So that's why we are going to add a pop-up for confirmation. Let's go and see in SharePoint if that's true, if the item was removed. So going back to SharePoint, it's showing here because it didn't update the screen yet, the page. So once I update, it will disappear. So the item is not here anymore. But let's just restore so we don't need to create another one. I will go to recycle bin. It will be in here. And it will be in here, I think, for 30 days. I can restore. So just restored and it's back in
Mm-hmm.
here. So it's
Nice.
back in there, but it doesn't show in here. How do I make it appear here since it's back again? Is there a way for me to refresh and call the new value to show here? So call all of them again.
Yeah, yeah, there's a way.
Yeah,
So
there's always.
we have, guess what, a format called refresh that's going to refresh the data source. So we can leverage that to see the changes. However, you don't need to use that all over the app to make the user keep refreshing the data. Once the user get in the in the app and move to different screens, the data, of course, is going to be refreshed itself.
Yes. In this case, it's because we deleted from SharePoint and the app doesn't know,
Mhm.
but all the
Yeah.
operations we are going to do inside the app. We could force the
Mhm.
refresh, adding an icon here calling this refresh function just to show that's an option. So let's do
Mhm.
this because it's simple, and then whoever is watching will know this function too. So I'm going to go to Insert icon, and we have a reload icon here that works. Note that I didn't have anything clicked, so it will insert in the app, not inside the gallery, so I can place here in the top. And then in the onSelect of the icon, or I can go here in Action and click onSelect, it's easier to find, I can call the refresh function. Refresh, and what's the data source I want to refresh is the asset manager. Here just shows this one because we only have one data source added, but if we had more, it would show all the others. So selecting asset manager, closing the parentheses, let's hit play and click refresh. So once I click refresh, it just shows all the information that's in the data set. Okay, uh, so we already saw how to work with galleries, add actions from inside the gallery, delete an item. Let's do this confirmation pop-up so the user doesn't delete right after he clicks or she in this icon. Let's show the pop-up, and then once the user clicks confirm, then we delete. Okay, in order to show the pop-up, we need to build it and show only when we click in the icon. So let's do that. Let's first build, then we will work on how to hide and show. But first, let's build. One thing that I like a lot when building extra things that I'm going to show and hide is to insert a container. A container, as the name says, is something we can place other objects inside. So I'm going to click here in this plus icon, and I can go to layouts, and we have the containers here. We have just a container. That's something we can add, drag and drop in the way we want, place in the position we want the things, or we have horizontal and vertical containers that they place things automatically and organize and align automatically. Let's get started with the easier one. That's the container, is the first I learned, and then later in the app or in another section we can use the other containers. So I'm going to click on container. It's an empty container and we can drag and drop and resize. I'm going to make it to occupy the full screen. So I'm going to make it occupy the full screen and change the color. We have a parameter here that's the color. And let's do this gray, for example. So covers everything that's behind because it was transparent before. So now it's in front of everything. We can see here in the tree view that the container is in front. That's why it's covering everything. We could send to back and then it wouldn't cover. The other things would be in front of it. But in this case, once we click in the delete icon, we want it to cover everything to force the user to choose an action to confirm or cancel. Right, so here we have the container, then we can add the elements, the label asking the user, do you really want to delete? And the buttons yes and no. So first, let's rename the container as a good practice. So I'm going to click here in the container name and change to com delete confirmation. Right, so now let's add, with the container selected, let's go to insert, label. It will insert a text. Let's place in the middle and change its text to, are you sure you want to delete? Are you sure you want to delete this item? We can also change font size, color, and everything else. Let's say 25. Let's center and add 2 buttons to confirm. So confirm or cancel. I'm going to select the container, go to insert button, place in here, and insert another button, so button, and place in here. One of them I'm going to change the text to yes, and the other to no. And now if I click on yes, I will delete the item. If I click on no, I will just hide the confirmation pop-up again. How do I show and hide things now inside the app? So we have this visible property. All the items, all the elements have these visible properties. In this case, I'm selecting the container, and here I can go to the visible and toggle on or off. If I put off, the container will hide, and everything that's inside the container will also hide because they are children and they are inside. So if I hide the container with things inside, the things will also disappear. So here I'm hiding and showing. If I click here on visible, I can see that sets to true or false. That's what makes show or hide. But how can I do this dynamically? How can I make it show or hide when I click in the delete icon? For this, we have how is that? I just forgot the name, but variables. Variables inside the app. Variable is something I can declare. It's something I can say, this variable now it's true, now it's false. We can change its value as the app works. So let's learn how to build a variable to make the container show and disappear when we click on certain elements of the screen. In this case, let's force it true so far, and let's learn how to build a variable. Okay, we have someone commenting here in the chat. Our first person who commented, it's Isabela Azevedo. She's saying, excelente vídeo, Rudy. That's in Portuguese, saying excellent video. Thanks a lot, Isabella. Thanks for watching. Thanks for participating. I'm very happy that you're here. Okay, going back, let's see how to create a variable and use inside the app. For this, I'm going to create a new screen just to make it easier to understand. Then we are going to go back to this page and use the variable after we understood. I'm going to go to insert new screen. This is how we create new screens. We already have several models, but let's go with a blank one. It will create a new screen just for demonstration. And then let's learn how to create a variable. I'm going to insert a button just to click on it and call a function that creates this variable I'm mentioning and see how it works. So insert button. Here's the button. It doesn't do anything right now, but we are going to go to action, and in the onSelect property, we are going to call this function that sets the variable. So how to create a variable? There are two types of variables, locals and globals. The local variable will work only in the page we are in the app, and only the page we are playing the app. And the global variable will work throughout the app, when we want to use one and when we want to use the other. So local variables, if we need that information only inside that page, we don't need to make it global, so you cannot access in the other page. And the global is if we want to have some information that's accessible to anywhere in the app. For example, we can load when the app starts if the user is an admin, and then save in a global variable and use that variable to check if the user is an admin and to show and hide things for that user. But in this case, Let's see the local variable first. So I'm going to call the function that's called update context. This will create new values that are the variables that can be used inside the app, or update existing variables. So I'm going to open the function, then open the brackets, and state the name of the variable. So in this case is, for example, lock true false. It's a variable called lock true false. I'm calling lock because it's a local variable, since I can access only inside this screen. And I'm going to add these two dots and say that it's true. True. And just closing the brackets. So now if I click, it will create this variable lock true false with the value true. Let's show this variable somewhere so we can see its value. So I'm going to insert a label, place in here, and change the text to the lock true false. So this lock true false has the value of false right now because I didn't create yet, it doesn't exist, so it comes as false by default. But if I click here, it will be true. See, just set as true. If I click here, it's still true and true again and again because we didn't do anything to change back to false or to another value. So let's create a new button to make it go back to false. Let's exit the play mode. We can copy this button with Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and then update this formula to false. So once I click, it will update the lock true false to false, and it will reflect here the value because we are printing the variable's value in here in this label. Let's play. So clicking this button, it will set to true, and this one will set to false, calling the update context variable, update context formula. Now I can use this variable that changes as I use the app to show or hide the pop-up in the other page. But let's show here first. Let's insert, for example, a simple object, such as a rectangle. Where is the rectangle? Here, rectangle, insert, rectangle. And then I can go to the visible of this rectangle and add the variable in the visible property. Instead of true, I can change to lock true false. So if the lock true false is true, the rectangle will show. If it's false, will disappear. So here it's true already. Once I click here, it will change to false. So the visible property here will be set to false because it's attached to a variable, and then it disappears. The rectangle is still in there, but it's just hidden because the visible is false. True, false. That's what we are going to do in the other screen to make it appear and disappear, the pop-up for the confirmation. Okay, I will ask for a 5 minutes break to get some water, and then I will be back. Okay, let me just put here in a break video. Let's see how many minutes we can add. Leaps. I'm trying to find where to add this. Leo just disappeared. His phone ran out of battery. I'm not finding, so I will just add a text here inside my Power Apps saying we'll be right back. Insert text label. Break. Coffee break. Coffee break. We'll be right back. To starting. Let's make it full screen. Add a background color. We can set transparent color a little bit. If we go here to custom and change it to have a transparency a little bit, you can do this to some elements if you want. Let me center this text, change to bold, and play. So I will be right back, everyone. Thanks for waiting. See you soon. I'm back. Okay, let's continue. We are going to finish the pop-up for deleting the item, and then we are going to close this video and continue in the next time, because it's already been 2 hours, getting tired. Then we can continue the video if you leave your comments asking for us to continue, or we can do another video with another theme. It's up to you. Okay, so now let's delete this one, or just hide if you want to keep in the here for the next time. But I'm going to delete. Okay, now we know how to show and hide things with the update context, creating local variables. Let's copy this formula and use it in the other page. If I go to the other page, so when I click on no for this pop-up, I'm going to update the variable to false. But let's change the name of the variable to lock show remove pop-up. Remove pop-up. And I just set to false. If I click on yes, that I want to remove the item, I also want to hide the pop-up, to set the variable to false. So I'm going to go to this yes button, and then in the onSelect, change to update context, lock show, the variable lock show remove pop-up will be false. And now I want to add this variable to the visible of the container. So I will select the container and add to the visible. Look who is back.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry, I was using my phone and I ran out of battery. But yeah, I'm here again.
When you left, we're talking about galleries. Now we are already doing containers here. The students go fast.
Oh, the container is a big advance.
Yeah,
very important.
But we are only using that normal container just to place things inside. First introduction. Okay. Yeah, I just created the container with the confirmation pop-up, and here now, instead of deleting the item right away, I'm just going to show the container. So let's remove this and paste the formula with the update context with the lock show remove pop-up and set to true, and it will make the pop-up appear. So if I hit play and I click here, so the pop-up will appear, and now once we click on yes, that we want to we are going to order the app to remove the item instead of removing directly in that button. So right now I have this only the update context, and I want to add the remove function too. We can have two functions in Power Apps. We just need to separate them by applying this semicolon. So if I add the semicolon and call another function, it will call one, then the other. So let's add the remove first, then once it's removed, it will hide the pop-up. So I'm going to paste the remove here. Oops, not this one. The remove formula, add a semicolon, and is it done, Leo? Does it work? It's showing a red line under the remove. Any comments? Why is that not working anymore? Why does it show an error here since I just pasted the formula that was inside the gallery?
Right, yeah, because you are outside the gallery, so you can use this item. You need to access the gallery first, then you are going to get the selected item.
Yeah, so I can, for example, instead of this item, get the goal asset lists, that's the name of the gallery, dot selected. So it's the item we just clicked in the gallery, so it's selected. Then we are removing that item from the asset manager. That's one way of doing that.
Well done.
Yeah, let's see if it will work. So I just click no, just to make sure. I will click on this one to delete it. just to see which one I'm deleting. So I'm going to delete the smartphone X, click on delete. Are you sure you want to delete? If you click yes, it will call the remove function, remove from the list, and then close the pop-up. Let's see. Yes, just remove that item. And now there is no dangers, let's say, for me to just click here and delete. So no risk. If I click here, of course, I will delete it. I already did the confirmation here. I cannot keep doing one after the other, 1,000 confirmations. So, okay, so I mentioned that here in the yes, that was one option, getting the item selected from the gallery, but I usually like to set to a variable when I click in the delete icon. Because in this case it's fine because it's in the same page, but if I was in another page and I was referring to an item selected in a previous page, I like to have it in a variable to not have one page depending on the other. And sometimes the app just refreshes the data in the background and the gallery loses its selection. So I like to add to a variable. And here I would, for example, instead of doing go assets lists dot selected, I would use lock asset dot selected asset, for example, selected asset. And then, of course, I need to declare this variable when I click in the item, in the delete icon. So if I go back here, I can add a new variable here called lock selected asset and say that this variable represents this item. So once I click, I will store this item information inside this variable, and then I can call the variable in the other button. Let's see if it works. I will remove this one, for example. Just clicked on this one, saved the item to a variable, and then I click here, it will delete that item. We can see the variables here in the... Go ahead, Leo. Sorry.
I said, well then.
Okay.
Good.
If we go to view and see variables, we can see those variables we created for each screen. Since they are local variables, they are available only in that screen. Here we have the lock show remove pop-up. That's false right now. That's why the pop-up is not showing. And the lock selected asset is the item we just created, is the variable we created when we clicked in the delete. And here in this table, we can see the record. So we have all the information is the item from SharePoint. Good, good. So now we have the gallery. We can delete items. We learned variables. We learned how to do a pop-up. It seems a lot of things for today. I think we can continue another time, Leo. What do you think?
Yeah, that's nice. We saw a lot of important and interesting concepts, and that is just the beginning. That we can go much deeper. Power apps is a never-ending subject, and yes, I think that is a good start for today.
Good, good, good. So I'm just going to save. Since it already saves automatically, I guess I need to check in the configuration. Let's see. So settings. Here we have the save every 2 minutes. So it's auto saving. Oops, do not disable. But if I want the users to see this latest version with the things I changed, I have to save and publish. See, we didn't save this app yet. We talked about saving right in the beginning and we forgot to do. So let's save.
Yeah.
If we had closed, we would lose everything.
True.
Yeah. So let's just save, publish, and once... right now I don't need to publish because it's the first time I'm saving, but once I do any change, I have the publish button here. Let's see. So for example, if I change a little bit here, save again, Control S, I can publish, and then this modification will be available to the user. So I can edit as much as I want. The users won't see until I publish this version. So once I publish, it will be public for the users to see the latest version. I guess that's it. We even had a comment, Leo, in the chat. Really good. I'm really happy with that.
All right. Thanks for Isabella.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching us. Yeah. Obrigado.
Obrigado. And that's it. Let's wait for comments for people wanting to see a next step and suggestions. And then for sure we can do another lives like this. Don't forget to subscribe and subscribe to Leo's channel. And that's it. Thanks, Leo, for participating here today. Let me see the final video.
Okay. Yeah, I missed you, Rudy. Connection is not so good here.
No worries. It was me saying thank you.
Okay.
In summary, that's it.
All right.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
All right. So
bye, Leo.
Let me say thank you also, and bye. See you next time.
See you.